What's up, y'all? Yogi here. Uh, this video is about mindset and creating the life that you want. We all have this thing in life called FUD: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. This is a term that we use in the equity markets or even the cryptocurrency market, which cause people to panic or have uncertainty about the situation that's going on. And so they may sell their stocks or crypto out of fear, uh, because they're just uncertain or they're doubtful about it returning to baseline, to the mean, or back to their state where the portfolio was profitable or in the green. So there's lots of fear within themselves. There's lots of fear within the market, and there's lots of uncertainty and doubt. And so this goes to ourselves in creating the path that we want to in life as well, not just the stock market or the crypto market or Bitcoin per se. This happens outside of this. This happens within our own mind. This fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Obviously, uh, FUD comes from in the market. It comes from all our emotions, right? So it comes from our emotions, because that's what drives us forward, whether positive or negative. Our emotions is what uh, gets us up each day. Some people are depressed, right? They're depressed and they just can't get out of bed and do the work that they want to do because their emotions, their mindset is so negative, where they feel that they can't do anything. Same with people with anxiety, right? They're just worried about the future. They may even sweat, aggressively, because they're just so worried about what's to happen. They have this fear, right? A lot of people with depression, they may have this uncertainty. And then the people who are, uh, who are fear, uncertainty, and doubt, who are doubtful, those are most people are regular people, right? The regular people are the ones who are so doubtful that they don't take action. They're doubtful and they're fearful, right, of taking action, because they feel someone's going to judge them for what they do or what they don't do. Uh, they fear this criticism that others may criticize them for, that's not even there. So they have these things. People are so doubtful of themselves. Um, they feel that, like I said, others may uh, not like what they're giving out to the universe. But a lot of that is self-inflicted. A lot of that is because of this fear, uncertainty, and this fear and uncertainty, which cause them to be doubtful of their own power. And so we have to start switching our mindset and fine-tuning those little subtle um, thoughts that come to our mind. All thoughts are illusion. They're all illusionary. Now, we live in the physical plane where we have to interact with the physical world, and we have this physical body. We are spirit in essence, but we can't interact or experience the spirit while we're in this physical body, because our spirit is so light, and there's no density in the spirit. However, since we live in this physical body, the most dense of all creation, we have to have spirit live in this body and interact with the physical world. And our physical body moves at the same vibration or the same speed as the physical universe. So we can't tell what's illusion, or we can't tell what's truth, because everything looks to be real. Everything looks to be moving, alive and conscious. And now obviously there is consciousness, there is a sense of, truth, right? Because I'm talking to you guys right now and you are perceiving it, you are analyzing it with your brain. We see, we see the world around us. So there is the consciousness of that aspect where we have this attention, right? Our soul is our soul is in the body. It's everywhere, but it's in the body, and we are perceiving it. It's behind the eyes, and we're perceiving it out into the physical universe through the physical senses and through the world. So just like a movie, you go to the movies, right? And you're watching the movie, you see the screen, the light that's pushing out into the movie screen is the consciousness, it's the spirit, is the real light, is the awakened, awakened being, that light that's pushing out to the screen. And what's on the movie screen is the illusion, is the play, is the movie. And so we, if we're looking at the movie, we have these emotions, this fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And you may even, if it's a comedy film, you might have, laughter and joy and all of these good feelings, that dopamine, that, serotonin, that good, this just these good feeling hormones, right? And not knowing that the light that's behind it is the real movie that's just shining on it. So that's how we are in this physical universe, where our soul is that joy, is that consciousness, is that peacefulness, and is shining light, as we're in this physical body, because we need the physical body to interact with this physical world. It's shining light. It's giving us that moving picture out into the universe that we're experiencing right now. And so how do we start to get this, this fear, uncertainty, and doubt away from us, is by starting to connect with our spirit. And we can do this by, many ways to raise our vibration. The most powerful way to raise our vibration and connect with our spirit is by meditation. Meditation will help us not only diminish these fears, these uncertainties, and these doubts within us. It starts to diminish. Eventually, it can eliminate it. I'm not there yet, right? I'm not there where it's totally diminished or, obsolete. However, it has greatly diminished as the years that I've been practicing meditation. Because one, when you meditate, you know that the universe around you is an illusion. It's real in the sense that we are experiencing it with our consciousness through these physical eyes, through these physical ears, through the sense of our nose, smell, and through communication, through talking, and through touching. So all of these five senses are interacting with the world. So it's real in that sense. However, it's an illusion because it's only a part of the reality. Our reality is that light at the movie theater. That's the reality, the light. Our spirit is the light. Our spirit is the reality. And we only experiencing parts of it because our spirit has been taking on multiple layers of matter and mind and illusion. And these layers are, we have the supercausal body, which is, the layer that's on our soul, because we are God consciousness. So even the spirit has a tiny small veil of illusion. And that illusion is pretty much just the separation that it has from the almighty consciousness, or people call it God. So since we're God consciousness, in essence, that's the true Sat, or truth. So we have that God consciousness, and God created individual souls from its own source. So that's the veil, or the separateness. So even though spirit is truth, it still thinks that it's separate from the ocean. And so as that drop from the ocean, the spirit starts to develop more, I just call it FUD, right? It takes on these bodies, the causal body and the astral body. And as we're experiencing right now, the physical body. So it has all of these illusions, right? All of these bodies that's on top of the soul. And so though we are living in the physical universe and experiencing, and it appears to be reality, it's still only still an illusion, and it's not their full reality. Again, so we're experiencing it. It's reality to us until we awaken. We have an amnesia, right? So until we awaken into our astral body, we find that this physical universe is only a pale reflection of the astral. And as we cross the astral, we find that the astral is only a pale comparison to the causal, and so on and so forth. So these are layers that's on our consciousness. And as we are more ingrained into the physical universe, interacting with people, especially those who are negative, we keep negative company, even if it's family or friends or even certain coworkers. If we experience or interact with them so deeply that we become them, right? We start taking on their actions, start taking on their thought patterns, because we're so ingrained with them. We don't have a strong chi, or a strong physical block, where we can, nothing can affect us, right? And that's where meditation comes in. As strong as we meditate and build that resilience, almost like an adaptogen, and we can build that resilience that we can kind of deflect the negativity that's from our coworkers, or even certain friends that weigh you down, or family members, or whoever it may be, a spouse, no matter who it is, stranger. As we develop our resilience, we can treat them as another, a form of consciousness. They're just another being, and we see that the reality that, hey, this soul is just suffering in some way, and they're experiencing a lot of FUD themselves. They're experiencing a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and they don't know themselves. They don't know their true reality. And you have that compassion for them. However, you don't need to be around them, right? You don't need to be around negativity. And if you are around them, whoever it may be, give them love, give them compassion, give them kindness, because they need it. They need that pull, that source of love. And as they get that, they're going to start, changing their own consciousness, changing their own vibration, and maybe start to think like, hey, I'm not living the life that I want. They may not get to the stage of wanting to meditate or develop this beautiful sense of urgency to to realize themselves and connect with their third eye, and and tap in, as Emerson said, tap in. And so people need that love. But like I said before, it's best to try to not interact with as many people who weigh you down, because if we're trying to get into a state of ultimate consciousness, right, we're going to need as much superpowers as possible, right? We're going to need as much a positive environment, so we can focus as much within as possible, so we can create the life that we want, inwardly and outwardly. All right. If your inner self is good, your outer life will be good. So if your inner life is, if your mindset is very positive and your mindset is very forward thinking, and you give love to others, that's going to come back to you. And it's going to show out in your life. And in many ways that you didn't think was possible. And vice versa. If your mindset is negative, if you have so much, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, the universe is going to look so scary to you. It's already scary, right? This is an illusion. So we're going to have these, wars and terror and all that. But the more you feed into that, the more you look at the news and, watch, negative things about, how this person is attacking this person, or, all of these negative things, then your reality is going to look tragic, right? Because your consciousness, you're a creator. God is expression. God was not expression, and then he came into expression when he created individual souls, right? Or these, you know, these realms of consciousness, like the physical plane, the astral plane, the causal plane. God was all alone. God or consciousness, whatever you want to be, whatever you want to call it, the ocean of love, ocean of consciousness. God is not this power where it's, in human form and telling everyone what to do. No, God is just presence, this love, this expression. And so, yeah, the more you interact with the negativity, the more your physical reality is going to look so terrible. So you have to start connecting with positivity. Start connecting with positive people. Start connecting with positive literature or information. And obviously there's going to be a lot of, pull, and, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get rid of the negative shackles that's on you. All right. The chains. And once you break upon a lot of the layers of illusion, yeah, you're going to be like, man, say even money, for instance, I talk a lot about Bitcoin on this channel, right? Or HODL. I talk a lot about Bitcoin, right? And, Federal Reserve and money and, the system that's been so, giving us so much oppression, right? And depression. And you find that the money is, the money in the system is broken, and that's the whole, that just like, it screws you over, right? You're just like, what? That's not the reality. The government is not what it says it is, a nice, nice, happy, peaceful, government. No, it's none of that. And, you start to distrust a lot of things, right? So that's what happens on the spiritual path as well. A lot of the things that you thought were true aren't true. And you start to become, like, wow, I can't believe all of this. I can't believe that, religion and in certain aspects isn't as what I, real, or as I thought it would be. And so that, that gets to you. But yeah, as you start to come on this path, you'll start to break those, the fear, the uncertainty, and the doubts that you have. Not only about, money, not only about relationships, but, just your own everything. You start to diminish those fears, uncertainty, and doubts as you come upon things that make you positive. As you read more books, as you meditate, as you connect with people who are positive. That's so huge. If you start connecting with people who are of positive nature, or on a positive, level of vibration at or above your level, And you know it. You know it. You know when you're around people and you're like, I don't know, but you still hang out with them. And it's cool to hang out with anyone because, we're all the same essence, you know? But on a day-to-day basis, if you're hanging out with people who are just negative and you're still hanging out with them and not, trying to get to the next level in your own, life and positivity, then yeah, you know it, and you're going to just trend and spiral downward. But if you can connect with positive people in their life, then you know you're going to be in a much better place. So stop the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's not going to happen instantaneously. It's pretty much a lifetime thing. And the more you meditate, the more you connect with your essence, who you truly are. Not truly are as a human being, but truly are as consciousness, then your physical reality is going to be so much better. So much better. And I'm not perfect. I'm developing. I'm developing as a human, one thing, I gotta develop as a human, and treat others better and with kindness. Treat myself with kindness. That's if I treat myself with kindness and love and nourishment, then most likely I'll be able to treat others, with the same. And so, yeah, life is all about personal development, working on yourself, and as you work on yourself, um, no one can harm you, uh, emotionally, physically. I mean, they can harm you physically, but like some of the great gurus in the past, or spiritual teachers, or like say Christ, for instance, nailed to the cross. He said, "Hey, have love for all." He knew that this is only a mortal shell, and that he still had love for all. So they can harm you physically, but they can't harm your spirit. So that's what I meant by that. Um, yeah, this video is a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I think it's all good. And yeah, peace. Have a good rest of your Sunday, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your time. Peace.